have is we have individuals who have these encampments in river areas like this. Keep in mind that California's had a very, very dry season, and a lot of the times these individuals don't heed our warnings, even though we do patrol the areas prior to heavy rains like this, looking for encampments like this. Sometimes they're very difficult to identify, difficult to locate, because of the areas that they're in. For instance, this one you can see is heavily covered by trees and tree limbs. So these individuals may, and again I'm saying may because I don't know who these individuals are, may have been living in this area and they weren't aware of how fast this water was going to rise. And obviously their encampment has been threatened, and it's under some very, very dangerous situation right now. So what we're going to see now is the firefighters are bringing over that boat. You can see it's anchored on both ends. It's anchored on the bow and the stern, and they will start bringing in the patients. It looks like they're doing that so they can safely remove all of the patients and the dog at the same time and try to get them to an area of rescue.
And just so we understand what we're looking at, the folks right in the middle there with the bright orange, it looks like that person is holding on to a dog, and if I'm not mistaken, there's a second dog behind him and another person on that tree. So those are the people who are being rescued with their dogs. Is that right? And then the rescuers are the folks who are at the bottom.
Yes, what you're seeing, the rescuers are the folks on the bottom in the dry suits. They've had the ability to put the victims up into that tree area. The reason they have the victims holding on to those animals is because the animals feel much more comfortable with their homeowner and or their owner, and the dogs are less likely to bite our rescuers. It's a way of kind of controlling the animals in this situation, because the firefighters are controlling the environment as best as they can. Now, keep in mind, this is a truly uncontrollable environment, but we're doing everything we can to get as much control of the situation as we can. So you're going to see the rescuers who are in their dry suits, keeping themselves protected from the elements, reaching out to those individuals, trying to get them down into the boat. Now, keep in mind, as a victim, they're scared. You can see that the dog is doing everything it can out of fear of going into that water. It wants to stay up on the tree. It wants to stay by its owner. So now the dog is in the boat. Now we got our first victim in the life raft, and we're going to be reaching up to get the other victim and the other dog back in the boat, and we'll be able to get them off to safety.
And it seems like I don't know if a muzzle would be sort of a standard piece of equipment in a situation like this, but I wonder if that would be helpful for your folks in these situations.
Well, it's one of those things that could be considered as muzzling the animal, but then again, if the animal falls into the water and goes downstream, we don't want to affect its airway and its ability to breathe. So we don't muzzle the animals. It's really case by case what they can do under that situation. But keep in mind, our primary purpose is to rescue those individuals, get them safely off to the side, as well as their dogs. I mean, we're concerned about the entire situation, but we really need to make sure that those individuals can get safely to the side. And that's what looks like what our firefighters are able to do right now.
Wow, Captain, it really is impressive to see what you guys do every day. And like you said, there's no way to anticipate the kind of situations that you're going to have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now the rain coming down very heavy at the moment. It looks like everyone is in the boat, although that one rescue team member there seems to still be in the water, but a good sign. It looks like those victims and their dogs are in the raft at this point.
Right, you're going to see the victims are now in the raft. The rescuers are going to work their way off that tree, and then we're going to get them off to the side so that we can get them assessed by our medical personnel who are standing by on the side. I'll tell you, Southern California is blessed with some of the most talented firefighters. Not only the city of Los Angeles, but all the firefighters in Southern California are well trained for all the challenges we face. It was just 2 weeks ago we were talking about heavy brush and high temperatures and low relative humidity, and here we have firefighters who are working some very treacherous waters, anywhere from 10 to 12 feet deep, and trying to perform a water rescue with heavy rain conditions. So Southern California, our firefighters they're trained in earthquakes, they're trained in potential for active terrorism, they're trained for your everyday structure fires. I mean, it's amazing what talent our firefighters have, and it's nice living in Southern California knowing that no matter where you go down here, you've got firefighters who are training together, working together with all the other agencies for situations just like this one.
Boy, you're so right about that. It really does make us feel much more secure, and the training that goes into our firefighters is world class. That because they have to handle so many different types of situations, our agencies work together so well in so many disaster situations. And you know, as Jessica was just saying a moment ago, we're so impressed when we get to see it in action. It looks like now, Captain, that one of the rescuers has boarded that raft, and they're now bringing it over to the shore. The other rescuer is staying back at the trees, but we can now see, and that gives you some perspective. The train track is right there. Folks in that commuter train getting an incredible view of a Swiftwater rescue happening live right before their eyes as they head into work. And it looks like they're now making their way across the river with those two folks and their two dogs. And Captain, talk to us about the you know, not only the fact that this is happening, but the training value for other Swiftwater rescue teams to come. When you have an incident like this, I suspect that you evaluate each one of them, and there we go, a successful rescue.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I can tell you right now, your producers are going to get a phone call from me, because they always do after an incident like this, because we want to get this footage for our members and other agencies to be able to look at the operations that we conducted, because we don't have somebody there filming this operation, but we do rely on Sky 5 and some of the other channels to get the coverage so that we can look at this, analyze, see how we did on this operation, what could we do better, what could we do to change our operation as need be. But here we're looking at firefighters who are now taking these, what look like two middle-sized pit bull-type dogs who are obviously terrified, having been in that situation, getting onto the side of the embankment with their owners, and the firefighters there to start assessing not only the patients, but we also have animal control who has been called there to be able to do a proper assessment of the animals and get them some type of veterinary care if necessary. So this is an incredible operation. Our firefighters did a fantastic job saving these individuals as well as their dogs as well. And so you can see that that's the owner right there wrestling with his dog, and that dog's terrified. You can only imagine what that dog's been through, what that family, that couple's been through this morning in this situation.
And we don't hear what they are hearing on the ground there. The sound of that river rushing by, the sound of the helicopters in the air, the sound of the dogs barking.
And Frank, you mentioned the Metrolink and people on their way to work. Take into consideration that our firefighters were conducting this operation very, very close to the railroad tracks, and that presents a hazard in itself. You know, we always warn people to stay away from moving trains, to stay away from the tracks, and so here we are conducting our operations on the side of a railroad track with a heavy rushing river on the other side. So we've got a lot of hazards that we need to control. So scene safety is paramount, and that's what our incident commanders are taking into consideration when they're doing this operation, is being able to perform these operations on a very, very steep embankment, making sure that everyone there, and you're looking at about 20 firefighters who are on the side of that embankment in some very, very dangerous conditions with slippery sides where we easily could become victims ourselves.
Yes.
And we need to take that into consideration when we're performing this operation, and that's one of the jobs that our incident commanders do in working with the other captains who are on scene as the firefighters in performing this operation, make sure we can get this job done as safely and as efficiently as possible.
Captain Jamie Moore with Los Angeles Fire Department, we so appreciate you taking this time to talk with us. We're glad it had a safe and happy ending here. We're going to continue our coverage. We're going to take a short break and be right back.